Hello, everyone. Welcome to another Spiritual Spotlight. Today, I am joined by Isabella Young. She is a cult survivor, researcher, author, photographer, digital artist, gardener, ocean lover, and nature lover. Thank you so much for coming on the Spiritual Spotlight series. I'm so happy you're here.
Thank you, Rachel. I'm very excited to be here and to share what I've learned from my experiences with you and your audience.
Oh, I love it. So let's just jump right in. So, Isabella, your life journey has been extraordinary and deeply challenging. Can you maybe share how your personal tragedies and experiences with cults shaped your healing journey and led you to where you are today?
I have had a lot of tragedies in my life, uh, but I know now that every experience that I had has got me to where I am now, where I'm living it as much as I can as a sovereign being. I'm thriving. I'm uh, enjoying my life, and I'm no longer suffering, which is the main thing because I really did suffer a lot. My family was my first cult. My mother had a narcissistic personality disorder, and she was an alcoholic, and she made our lives hell. I've learned a lot about since I've started studying about narcissism. I can see now how the family dynamics were. The children were triangulated, and everyone had to please her, and those who did were there was the golden child, and then there was me, and I was the scapegoat. So uh, she sent me on my way into the world where I then, well, actually, if I did emerge from the family as an atheist. I was a very arrogant atheist. I looked down upon people who were religious and talked about God, and I spat the word God out with all the hatred that I could until I was in my early 20s and I met an extraordinary human being. He ended up being my partner for a while, and we started our spiritual journey together. And that really awakened me to the fact that there is a lot more that can be seen and felt and tasted and touched and whatever. And anyway, we lived together. We were living out a dream of being self-sufficient on land, and we had a child, and I was pregnant with our second child, and he died suddenly, which just completely destroyed my life, my dreams, my hopes for a family. And I went on a quest to try and find a reason to live again, because I really didn't want to be here. But I had children and I was pregnant, so I had to find a way forward. And I stumbled around in the wilderness of for years, not knowing where was home, who I could trust. And I ended up meeting a man who uh, he ended up being the cult leader. Just like spoiler alert. And I thought I had met my guru because I was obsessed really about my spiritual path and becoming what enlightened, even though I didn't really know what it meant. So I thought I'd met my guru and I was joining an ashram, but really I was met a cult leader and was going to be part of the cult.
Um,
And that was hell. Those years I had my children there, and while we lived as a family, he believed he was the second coming. I always had doubts, but I was brainwashed. I was mind controlled. I was really fucked in the head, basically,
yeah.
just to say how it was for me. And after 8 years of just like a celibate marriage, we had sex one time, and I conceived my daughter, and then uh, celibate after that, never touched me, told me it was for my highest good, or I'd been disrespectful and didn't deserve his touch, or I
Mm.
was too much like a man, I was too needy, all these excuses. And it turns out later we find out that he's been grooming the boys in the cult and uh, raping the men and having heaps of sex with randoms throughout the entire marriage. And then one day my son came home from school. He was really upset, and he didn't want to talk about it. The next day he was missing, and we reported him missing to the police. And the cult leader sent out his assistant to look for him, and he was found behind the house with a neck wound, and the cult leader spun it that he'd taken his own life. It was my fault because I hadn't given him the life that he'd wanted. I dishonored his soul, so he, checked out. And and now I know that that was a frame suicide. That was a setup. My son was murdered. So it's taken a long time. So that, all this happened a long time ago. It's only
Mhm.
now, like 16 years later, that I can piece together what happened and then be healed enough to be able to talk about it. So once I
Wow.
got out of the cult, well, he finally let me go. He wasn't going to let me go. He told me that um, I would, my other children would go the same way as my son, so they would die or kill themselves or
Oh my
whatever, and that
gosh.
my soul would scream throughout eternity, realizing the mistake I'd made when I left him, because I'd, lived all these tens of thousands of lifetimes in order to come and train with him. But I just wanted to die, and I think he let me
Good.
go because he knew he would have had another death on his hands. And once I left there, I came to Hawaii, and that's really when my healing started. And it was because of I was immersed in nature. I just hiked and I swam in the ocean and just spent a lot of time on the ground, gardening, and that really helped heal my heart. I started sun gazing every day, and while that's looked upon as a woo-woo practice, it's probably the most powerful practice that any of us can do now, because when we sun gaze, we take into our the organs in our brain the highest light frequency available to us on the
Wow.
planet. So it just goes straight into the brain, brings in new information, higher information, light codes, I don't know, whatever else, DNA activations. I don't fully understand exactly what it does, but I know for me, it expanded my consciousness so that I was able to then see what happened to me, why it happened. And then once I recognized the cult, uh, that I was in a cult, these were all the cult characteristics that I'd lived through. I could
Mhm.
then see how those same type of characteristics, the brainwashing, the mind control, the psyops, and the attacks on the physical body, so that
Yeah.
you're not in a strong place to see clearly. I could see how then those things were playing out on the world stage,
Wow.
and then I started to write about what I could see, and yeah, I'm in the process of finishing my second book now, which is like hundreds of natural medicines and body technologies and spiritual technologies that are available to us
Mhm.
so that we can be powerful, that we can be optimally healthy, that we can uh, be free. We can live as sovereign beings, and we can be co-creators of a world that we'd like to live in, not this bullshit that we
Yeah.
currently all subjected to. So
So you kind
that's
of just that's a lot in a little bit
yeah,
of
that's a
time, and I'm
lot.
sorry that you
Yeah.
went through that. That's a lot. And I want to ask you a couple questions to follow up with that. So your work includes spiritual technologies, as you just said, for expanding consciousness and achieving sovereignty. Could you maybe elaborate on some of these spiritual practices and how they can help individuals on their spiritual paths?
Well, like I said, the first one is to be in nature, to
Yeah.
be quiet and to be in nature and to be open-hearted, open-minded, and present, to be able to communicate with nature, to be able to receive information, receive energy, and receive, guidance or whatever it is. So spend as much time as possible in nature. And then sun gazing, same thing, just when the sun's just about to rise, face east, be as relaxed as possible through a lowered gaze, just receive sunlight for just a few seconds to start with, because it's a pretty powerful practice. And um, and be relaxed, because being relaxed is the optimal state for receptivity. So be relaxed and then be grateful and give thanks. Do the same thing at the end of the day when the sun's setting, uh, and that will transform your life. It's
So how did you
absolutely extraordinary.
how did you go from having like a very like toxic childhood to then going into a cult where your son was murdered, you were obviously mental abuse? How did you shift into like being grateful for things? Like that's a big shift in like transformation and everything. How did you shift into that?
I think I just followed that advice that it's important to be grateful for everything, to see that life is serving us, not like attacking us. Things happen for us, not to us. To really take ownership of that, because I just felt like a victim for such a long time.
Yeah.
Why is this happening to me? I'm not a bad person, but all this bad shit keeps on happening. Just people dying and
Yeah.
family abandoning me, why? And then, so I just had to take a really honest look, because I understood that, that I was on a spiritual path, that I was healing and evolving. And I was hearing for a long time. Yes, I hear voices. I was hearing for a long time to heal and serve.
Mm.
So I followed that guidance.
I like that
And
you were open to that guidance to heal and serve.
yeah, well, I heard it really loudly, like one time I heard it was just yelling at me to, so I couldn't ignore the fact that I was hearing my higher self, or divine guidance, or God, or
Yeah.
whatever you want to call it. I'll call it God because it was a word that, like I said, as a child, I spat it out.
Mhm.
But now I use it with great reverence and love, because that's my life, my heart, my soul, my source.
I
So
love
I
that.
started listening, and always had a connection with nature.
Mhm.
My dad used to take us out camping, and I loved being. I did a lot of outdoor activities. I trained as a outdoor education teacher, so I did climbing and climbing and skiing and hiking, and then I did a PhD in outdoor education and mental health. So nature has been a theme throughout my life, and it was really deepening my connection with nature. That's really this where I find the spiritual technologies that I use. And the other one that I use is grounding.
Okay.
So I haven't worn shoes for about, I mean, well, obviously when I'm going through airports or walking around on hot roads, I wear shoes, but generally I don't wear shoes. So I stay directly connected to earth, because that's where my power comes from, as well as from the nature and the sun and all that. But
Mhm.
the earth's the battery, so I'm directly connected to earth. That balances me physiologically, electromagnetically, and that means that as the earth's going through all the changes, which is happening now with the higher frequencies of light that are
Right.
coming and bombarding the planet more and more
Yes.
every day, that means that I'm connected to earth. So the changes that are happening to me too. So I'm not thrown around as much. I'm not, I don't suffer all these ascension symptoms. Sometimes I do, if there's a particularly strong, like a whole lot of an X-class flare from the sun, or, some really powerful planetary alignments, because I also follow astrology. That's another spiritual tool that I've been using. Like
Yeah.
there's no more powerful tool for self-knowledge than astrology, and for understanding what's going on in the world. So I'm not an astrologer. I'm a student. Such a phenomenal science to study. That is a spiritual tool that's
I would
really
agree with
effective.
you. Yeah, I would
Yeah,
agree with you. And I also agree with if you are grounded, especially grounded within your body, you're able to almost receive the downloads from all of this
yeah,
energetic frequencies that are coming onto the planet easier, and you're able to
exactly.
integrate it into your
Yeah.
body easier. And
Hmm.
like you said, you're not experiencing the ascension symptoms as detrimental as some others, like the flu and, just being off. Yeah,
Yeah.
it is interesting. I did a grid working class just the other day, and I was like, I am zonked from this. Like, I need to go outside and walk. Like, it was too much energy.
Yeah.
But I completely understand that. So, one thing I do want to talk about is your book. So, your books, Putting on an Armor of God and You Human of New Earth, offer practical advice on protecting and empower oneself. What motivated you to write these books, and what impact do you hope they will have on their readers?
Well, I had started writing the book I'm just about finishing now, which is called New Human of New Earth. And then when all that virus bullshit started, I could feel this other book coming in. I
Wow.
could just feel it was a different book. So I started writing that. And it was really about what was happening at that time, and warning people, this is not what it appears to be. And please don't, poison yourself or your children, uh, because it's a psyop, psychological operation that's being used to really fuck with us and disempower us and make us
Mhm.
sick and controllable and all that sort of thing. So that's what inspired that book, was really
Gotcha.
the that
So to
event.
is it to help us like disconnect from the matrix and really see the truth of what's out
Yeah.
there?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, first recognize there's a matrix, recognize that we're being under attack, and all the different ways that we're being like bombarded with information, and and then all these like geoengineering and fake foods, and the fiat system. There's so many systems and ways that we're being messed with here to keep us distracted from who we really are, what we're here to do, and what's really going on in the world. And what's really going
Yeah.
on is that where there's a paradigm shift. There's an there's a upgrade
Yeah.
of energies and frequencies. There's higher light codes, and apparently that's ever been received before on the planet, but who knows, that type of thing, right? But anyway, just in recent memory, we're now
Yeah.
receiving all this light. And if we're not, we can make ourselves available to that light by being relaxed and open, because we don't have to necessarily be outside to receive it. We can be receiving anywhere,
Yeah.
just
Yeah. You're right.
with our intentions. But all this bullshit on the world stage is going on to distract us from that, and to keep us believing that somehow we're supposed to be following along with this program of working and paying taxes, and paying mortgages, and
Yeah.
struggling and surviving. So uh, all the focus is away. We're being focused away from what's really important, and what our purpose is, because we are here to bring in
Yeah.
the new age.
I
And
agree.
the fact is, there are only really when you think about it, there's only a few people really who are aware of the fact that's what's happening, fewer people who want to do anything about it. And so it's really just a small number of us who are going to be doing the work. As it is going to happen, there is going to be a change. It's just up to us as to how this unfolds, because we're the
Yeah.
ones that are co-creating reality. We're
That's so
the ones that are
true.
co-creating. The future's not written, so it's up to us to make it happen. And so
Yeah.
we're the ones that determine how much of we go into further into darkness and suffering, or how quickly we go into a more light
You are
filled,
so true. That's so
love
true.
filled, lacking a fear-based reality. We're the creators, we're the co-creators, along with all the unseen beings and helpers, and you know the, we're the ones. It's
Yeah.
up to us.
So, overcoming brainwashing, narcissistic abuse, and severe trauma was no small feat. What do you think were some of the most significant challenges you faced during your healing process, and how did you overcome them?
The first one was overcoming my death wish, because I had such a strong death wish, especially after my
Wow.
husband died when I was pregnant. I really, I didn't want to be here. I just wanted to be with him. And then when my son died, I just like, same
Yeah.
thing. Just didn't, and then, you see all the shit going on in the world. It's like, I really, perhaps I can go now. So I had to, and I'm not saying it's completely gone. I still have that feeling come up, but
Yeah.
I had to make a choice
Hmm.
to stay and work through that. And then the other one was the judgments of my family, and being labeled as the black sheep, the crazy one, the should be in the psych ward. uh to And then realize that actually to be grateful for my family, because they freed me from that that cult. They freed me
Hmm.
from having to continue to play along with their mindsets, their worldviews. I could just be myself.
Yeah.
And then the other challenges, I don't know what they're the main ones, really. Just within myself, wanting to keep going, keep working,
Yeah.
because it sometimes it seems like it's never ending. There's always more challenges, and they're not necessarily easier. That's one can, people think once it's all gonna be rainbows and unicorns. Well, it's not. It's not,
Hmm.
especially the higher that you uh get. I know it's not supposed to be a linear thing, but the more light that you embody, the
Yeah.
more consciousness that you have, then you get tested, because it's only going to be those people who are like strong vessels
Hmm.
for the light, the information, the consciousness, that are going to be able to receive that. So you get
Yeah.
tested.
Yeah.
right? How committed are you? How integrous are you? How authentic are you? Are you going to
Mhm.
be a good person, a kind person, a generous person,
Yeah.
a helpful person, an honest person,
Yeah.
you know?
So important. So you
Yeah.
emphasize the importance of living as a sovereign beings with optimal health. What steps can individuals take to reclaim their sovereignty and improve their physical, mental, and spiritual health?
Firstly, it's to recognize that there are attacks on our sovereignty and there are attempts to keep us as living as slaves
Mm,
and in a slaves of in a satanic blood cult. Let's go all the way, right? So we actually, and I don't know who's enslaving us. I know they're non-human, subhuman, anti-humans, and they are all out to make sure that we stay unaware of their existence, unaware of their tactics, and you're unaware of who we are. And the beauty of what's happening now with the light that's coming onto the planet is that all that is has been hidden in the shadows is being exposed. There's corruption is being exposed, like in real time now. Like we've just saw um that the COVID event, now that's being exposed as to what it really was and the consequences, what they really are. And then we've got corruption in politics, and there's corruption in law enforcement and Hollywood, and it's all
it's
the it's
everywhere.
being exposed. Yeah, that's because of the light frequency is continuing to increase, and so
Mhm.
everything that is of a lower vibration, that's based in fear and control, that can't exist when there's a high frequency of light. It just can't. It can't. There's nothing that feeds it anymore. So it's just they just all these systems of control, finance, education, politics, religions,
Mhm.
all these systems of
Medicine.
control.
Yeah.
They won't be able to be sustained.
Wow. What do you think will happen when these things start really falling down? Is that when we shift into this new age, or do you think we're going to go into like this mass chaos?
Well, that's what I said before. It's up to us what
Yeah,
happens. So it's
we
it's
can
really up to
choose.
we can choose. So it's who is going to choose to continue to participate in systems of enslavement, because we're holding those systems up.
Right.
We're holding them up by voting.
Hmm.
Voting gives permission to be ruled, and and also it supports the notion of authority.
Hmm.
There's some organization, some group of people, some whatever, that has authority over us, but that's not true. That's not
Right.
based in reality. No one has authority over us. We are our own authority.
Right.
So the way would be to withdraw as much as possible from systems of enslavement,
Hmm.
with and then work towards establishing or building some alternative communities
Right. Right.
that
That makes
that
perfect
that
sense.
are that are decentralized, that grow your own food, have your own currency, just whatever you can do to withdraw support. That's energy, money, time.
Hmm.
You know, withdraw support so that then weakens the systems and they collapse. And then that's a great question. Like, who knows what's going to happen? Whether we're going to go into mass chaos, and it could turn into hell. I don't know. It could also. I'm open to divine intervention.
Yeah.
Pray for divine intervention, and maybe we'll be spared the suffering that could come when these systems start to collapse, and people lose their what has been their frame of reference.
Right.
Because that's it, as uh, once you lose your frame of reference, it
Hmm.
becomes a very destabilizing time until you're actually able to figure out, oh fuck, what's really
Yeah.
going on here.
What's
And
real?
right,
Yeah.
exactly, what's real. And we're entering into this, what's been described as a hyper reality, where it's almost impossible to distinguish between what's real and what's not.
I
And the
agree with
fact that
you.
most children are now living their lives through screens,
Right.
we what is the future going to bring, when we've got it probably now two generations of people who relate more to
A
virtual
screen.
worlds
Yeah.
and screens technologies than they do to the natural world or
So
to other
true.
human beings. That's I don't know what that doesn't look good to me, but I am optimistic about
Yeah,
the end result. I just don't know how we're gonna get there. Like I said, it's up to us, but that
right.
we will move out of this, uh, this enslavement
Right.
and, into sovereignty, into a new earth.
I would agree with you. Before I ask you the last question, what is the best place for somebody to find out more about you or maybe buy one of your books? Where's the best place for them to go to?
The best place is my website, which is feelingbetternaturally.love.
I love that. I like that website. I love that.
And the other place is my YouTube channel, which is called Feeling Better Naturally, where I sometimes get on. I haven't done a rant for a while, but I do offer images from the natural world.
Awesome.
I spend a lot of time underwater and just because even appreciating images from nature and sounds from nature without necessarily being there can have benefit. Like
Absolutely.
if you can't get out in nature, bring plants indoors, listen
Right.
to sounds from nature, have the birds playing or the crickets chirping, have natural objects around, wear natural objects, eat living foods, grow your own sprouts on your windowsill. And there's a lot of ways to connect with nature uh, without going out
Yeah.
into nature itself. So I have videos about that,
Nice.
about and then I have a Substack which is Feeling Better Naturally, where I put some of my writing, but most of the writing I have on the website, and then my book's available. I'll just show it now.
Oh, look at that. I love it. I
Look
love
at
it.
that.
That's
It's
cool.
available on Amazon, Putting
Nice.
on the Armor of God. But the best thing would be to wait until my next book, New Human, New Earth, is
Hmm.
published, which is going to be in November, and
Nice.
that will be a very valuable book to remember how to be human.
That's
That's
awesome.
really what it is, a
And
remembrance of how to be human.
the good thing is that when this episode airs, it will be past November. So definitely make
Oh,
sure to check out her second book. So which will be amazing. So for our final question, given your extensive experience and profound journey, what practical advice can you offer our audience for identifying and healing from fear-based mind control and embracing a life of sovereignty and optimal well-being?
first step for me was to establish self-love. And I knew that once I got out of the cult and I learned about narcissistic personality
Hmm.
disorders, I also learned about what that meant he was a narcissist, but that meant I was codependent. What did that
Hmm.
mean? That meant I looked for love outside myself. And I actually found myself in other relationships with narcissists. So I thought, that's it. I have to establish self love or I'm going to continue to repeat this
Yeah,
pattern. So I did affirmations, I did self care, just used a mirror work, like different types of tools to mostly was telling myself I love myself.
I love
I
that.
still do that sometimes. And then the other part was spending time in nature and really receiving from the natural world.
Yeah, that's
They were the yeah.
that is beautiful advice. Well, Isabella, I want to thank you so much for coming on the Spiritual Spotlight series. It's been really amazing to talk with you today. Thank you so much.
You're welcome, Rachel. We covered a lot in a short amount of time. So I'm really grateful for all you're doing to make the world a better place, to ensure the freedom and future of humanity, and to give people an opportunity to share uh, more information that
Oh,
can
yeah,
help people.
absolutely.
Because a lot, like I said before we started, a lot of people are suffering,
Yeah.
and there are a lot of tools, techniques, and medicines that are freely available
Hmm.
for people to use that will make a difference.
I totally agree. Thank you again.